kill the governor right now.
From 50 yards.
I'm a good shot. I could end this right now.
Hey Walking Dead fans, this is going to be a video called The Problem with Carl. It's not that there was a problem with Carl, but it depends on how you look at it. I did a video a while back called The Problem with Season 1, and personally I thought Season 1 was the best season out of them all. So there really wasn't a problem with Season 1, but behind the scenes a lot of stuff was going on. Frank Darabont developed the show and brought it to television from the comic book. AMC picked it up, but then Frank Darabont was fired. Was it the smart zombies? Was it something to do with him? Was it something to do with AMC? So you definitely have to watch that video to see what the problem was. And the problem with Carl, though, is that really a problem? And we want to dissect that a little bit and look at the whole thing about why Carl left, why he's gone, what happened, and how I feel about it. And we'll go over a bunch of stuff he said since then. It's been over a year now, and he's had a lot of interviews and articles saying different things, so we'll look at that as well. So spoiler alert, if you're not caught up to Season 9, I will be talking about every bit of that and some of the comic book a little bit. So let's go into the one thing that I keep repeating in so many different videos, and to you guys in the comments that think you can go by Carl's age, the actor's age, to try to figure out the timeline of the show. You know, he started out as a little boy and he had to age 8 to 10 years while filming the show, but the show didn't, in that span of time, go 8 to 10 years. So as we look at the actor's age and the character's age and how much time went by and stuff like that, that in itself ends up being a little bit part of the problem. So if you notice, from Season 1 all the way to the end of Season 8, there was really only around 2 years went by in the zombie apocalypse. I know many of you are shaking your head going, no way, and you would argue with me till the end of time, but that's okay. But for real, there was only around 2 years passed during that time. Then we had a 1.5 year time jump at the beginning of Season 9, and in around the middle of Season 9, close to it, we had a 6 year time jump. So I'm saying that it has been around 10 years at this point, all the way to the end of Season 9. To me, it's pretty self-explanatory that the actor aged faster than the storyline was happening in the show over those 8 seasons. But therein lies the problem. I mean, if you don't understand what I just said or what happened, how the actor could age faster than the storyline in the show, if you can't get your head around that, I don't know how else to explain it. Maybe somebody else can. But the problem with all of that is Scott Gimple, right? Scott Gimple is going along these seasons, Season 4, Season 5, Season 6, Season 7. All along this time, he knows Carl is aging faster than the story is going in the show. But at the same time, another problem is happening. And it happened with other characters as well. Let's take Glenn, Stephen Yeun. He even said, man, I was in LA, I went to LA, and I was just there not long at all, and I got cast for this show, The Walking Dead, and suddenly it exploded. It was the biggest thing ever. And The Walking Dead was the biggest thing ever. As we got into Season 4 and 5, The Walking Dead was the biggest thing ever. And a character, an actor like Stephen Yeun, being cast into this show that became the biggest thing ever, he even said himself, it was overwhelming. It consumed me. And even though I think Stephen handled it really well, Chandler Riggs didn't. And what I mean by that is, and he even admitted it himself in an article, that he slacked up. He didn't try as hard as he could have. And I understand that. It overwhelmed him as well, and it consumed him as well. An actor, a kid who had never had a part, who had never been in a big show, started as a kid actor, someone who never really had correct acting chops or go to acting school and graduate and then become an actor. He was a kid thrust into one of the biggest shows ever. So I'm not blaming Chandler Riggs. I even give him kudos for coming out in an article and saying that he was lazy. His performance was lazy and he should have been recast. And that's the whole thing. He should have been recast. Here's the thing. Scott Gimple, for whatever reason, did not recast Chandler Riggs as Carl back around Season 4 when it should have happened. Season 3, possibly. Chandler Riggs was getting too old to represent Carl in a real way, and that's why the timeline has been thrown off for so many fans. They're like, but Carl, he aged 10 years. You can't go by the actor's age, because in real life, they age a lot faster then what's the timeline that's happening inside the show story. So really, to keep the character young and where he should have been recast, but that would have thrown us all off too. It's like, oh, there's a different Carl. I don't like him as better as the other one. So Scott Gimple could be a part of the problem in the sense of he should have recast Carl, but I think he would have got a lot of slack back at that point around seasons 4 or 5 if that would have happened. But of course, in the comic book, the character Carl is not dead, and he's going to keep going, and Robert Kirkman even said this is really Carl's story as far as the comic books go, and Carl may not die, but he did die in the show. Why? Because he got lazy acting, and he just wasn't a good actor anymore. And was he a good actor ever? I don't know, but he just never did pick up the mantle of, I'm going to be a Rick Grimes and Andrew Lincoln, and I'm going to act my ass off. So I'm about to get into what his dad said, what Chandler said, and things like that. But has some of the writing been bad? Has there been other causes and reasons and problems? Sure. But let's look at his departure real quick. At the time that he departed from the show, Chandler Riggs was surprised that they made that choice. So we all know that Chandler's departure was a little greasy, and his father came out and said some stuff, but let's look at kind of what happened. Scott Gimple called a meeting, and Chandler and his parents thought this was just a regular meeting. They had already talked about like a 3-year, 2-year plus contract that they were going to sign, and they just thought it was a production meeting. They were told it was just a production meeting, but when they got there, it was just Scott Gimple, and he said, sorry, Chandler, you've only got a couple of episodes left. And because they had just talked about 2+ year contract that Chandler was going to sign, he had just purchased a home close to the AMC set and enrolled in the University of Georgia. But Chandler's father put on Facebook, it was the middle of June, his 18th birthday was coming up in a couple of weeks, 5 episodes were filmed, and they asked for my wife and I to both be at a meeting with Chandler, which was a little odd. It made me nervous, but he and the manager assured me it was the plan for filming schedule and stuff, and Scott Gimple was the only one there, and he told us Carl would be gone in a few episodes. Chandler was absolutely devastated. I was disappointed Scott had been dishonest with a 17-year-old making life decisions and waited to tell us. But that is the nature of TV and movies, and that's just the way it is. You just can't ever say my feet are planted in concrete because you could go at any time. From producers or directors just deciding you're not the one, from your own performance being lacking, from budgets being slashed, all kinds of things. But it was Chandler Riggs himself who admitted in a Reddit post that he got lazy and sucked when it mattered during his tenure as Carl Grimes. And that was Chandler responding to a comment that a Reddit user made that says he wasn't a strong enough actor to play the role. And that pretty much hits the nail on the head, and I think that's why Scott Gimple decided there may be some other ways to write this story without killing off Carl, but we just don't want to take this actor over into becoming an adult, into his contract, which then we'll have to pay more and do different things, do it a different way. Should we even go there with Chandler? Should we recast him? Should we kill him off? Can I use this moment to rectify, hopefully, why Rick didn't kill Negan? Scott Gimple chose to kill off Carl. Scott Gimple had to know he's going to kill off Carl, and just a season later, Andrew Lincoln would be leaving as well. So Carl and Rick both leaving within a couple of seasons, that could easily kill the whole show, kill The Walking Dead. And it has hurt it a lot. It definitely has hurt the show with Rick leaving also. Chandler said in that post, I've been rewatching TWD over the last couple of months, and I agree, LOL. I think I was decent for the first few years, but I definitely got lazy when I should have utilized the writers giving me more material. However, for seasons 4 through 7 and some of 8, I was putting the majority of my effort into school. Not trying to toot my own horn here, but I took like 10 classes throughout high school. For some dumbass reason, I guess I just wanted to hate myself even more, and put a lot of effort into my education than into my craft. This is super evident as I'm watching my earlier lackluster performances. He goes on to say that season 8, some of the last few episodes, he thinks was his best acting out of it all. And he says, in hindsight and in the best interest of the show, I do feel like if I didn't get killed off, things would have not gotten any better on my end, and The Walking Dead might have been better off recasting Carl. Don't get me wrong, I loved everything about playing Carl, and it would have been really awesome to play out all those storylines. But I would have been juggling college and the show, and my performances would suffer because of it, as shown when I was in high school. And he ended it with said, yeah, I sucked when it mattered, but I'm a good actor now, I promise. Please someone hire me. And that's the whole thing. Chandler went for like a year and didn't get any work. And he even auditioned for Spider-Man, which I think was far-fetched. I mean, Chandler, I love you, dude, but I don't think you're a Spider-Man, or at least not at this point. And I think because of the long time span that he didn't get any work, and he's got a couple things, recently that he's had in the works, and he's had this music thing of his that he's had going on. But he has said recently that he would come back as Carl in a flashback or something like that. I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to bring him back in any capacity. But he did say in an interview that he would return to The Walking Dead. He does miss it, and he would play Carl again in a flashback or something like that.
People are gonna die. I'm gonna die.
I think when viewers and fans look back at this, they'll see that when Carl left, that was kind of a big disruption in the whole thing, which led to Rick Grimes leaving, Michonne leaving, Jesus wanting to leave. Those characters, the actors all wanted to leave or go do bigger, better things. And one of the things with Andrew Lincoln, which I'll go over in another video, but Andrew Lincoln has put his heart and soul into this Rick Grimes character. He's had a lot of different emotional, crying, killing speeches, just all kinds of different things, and he's never really won anything for that. No awards, nothing like that. So, if I was an actor playing my heart out for a role for 8 seasons, 9 seasons, going on 9 seasons, and realizing nobody is paying attention to me, I need to get out there and do some other stuff, I can kind of see where some of the actors would want to leave. It's a big show. It gave them a little extra push. And personally, if I was an actor, I wouldn't let The Walking Dead hold me back either if I knew I could do better. So yeah, I totally blame Scott Gimple for not, around season 5 or 6, setting Chandler Riggs down and saying, look, son, we're about to recast you if you don't start acting better. Like, take some acting classes, get rid of some of those classes at school so you can focus more on your acting, or we're going to recast you or fire you. I would have set the dude down and told him that, and maybe he did. I don't know.
Best we can do now is avoid it as long as we can, keep one step ahead.
Am I glad that Chandler's gone? Am I glad that Carl died? No, of course not, especially with Rick leaving, which was probably inevitable. Let's just see how it plays out. I hope you're here with me in these videos to listen and discuss and talk about it. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more dead stuff.